Here's how my husband and I make berms in Mariposa, California. We get hot, dry summers up to 100 degrees and winters down to about 5 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'll show you this berm first because it's a work in progress and you can see the inner contents of it. We start with sticks. And this is following Sepp Holzer's methodology. At first he made berms out of a mix of mulch and dirt, but the mulch all decomposes at the same time and it can make the soil too acidic immediately. And he had to balance the amount of dirt and mulch closely. But by using sticks, it's a lot closer to nature, and the leaves decompose before the bigger branches. I've also noticed that mushrooms tend to grow on middle-sized branches before they grow on the mulch. So there's a big benefit to starting with varied material rather than just mulch. And after that, we put about 6 inches of dirt. This berm here has dirt already, and we're going to be extending it, so we need to add more sticks here and then dirt. And on top of the dirt, we put more mulch. And you can see over here is a bunch of old dead arugula on the top of this berm. And it protects the baby plants that are deep within here. So plants are surviving the frost because we left the old dead plants. And in Sepp Holzer's methodology, there's 3 main principles. One is copy nature. And so we actually started with straight berms, like giant garden rows, and since then we've evolved toward more curvy berms. The straight berms turn out to be kind of wind tunnels, whereas the curvy berms are much closer to nature and create all kinds of interesting alcoves, and they just tend to be more fun to be around. And his second major guideline is don't let anyone tell you what to do, even him. Try everything on your own and see what works and what doesn't with your own eyes. Lots of experiments, and continually change what you're doing based on the results of your experiments. Now this is one of our bigger berms here. This pear tree used to need to be watered about twice a week, and it was never happy because wind would blow up from this valley. And so now this guy has a lot more protection. And since we installed this berm, we didn't have to water it at all last year throughout the whole summer. And it had its first fruit. And Sepp's third principle is, if it takes work, find a way to not do it. And by work, it's annual, recurring type of work. So it does take work to set all of this up, but once it's set up, it should be able to take care of itself without us doing anything. And so over here you can see these are some of our very first berms. And they are the straight giant garden rows, basically. Now, if we had made a whole bunch of these at once, we wouldn't have realized that we could make them better. So it's been really good to just make a few berms at a time, or even one at a time, learn and change. So you can see how straight these are. And we've also found it's nice to have little side paths coming off the berm so you can get up and down easily. And by being able to walk on top, you can also take a wheelbarrow and bring it up top and dump extra mulch down the sides. Now, something else we have found is that it's useful to make holes in the ground and fill the holes with branches and then cover them with mulch and dirt. And that actually tends to hold the water better than berms, but we still like the berms for the wind reduction and the microclimates. And one of the permaculture principles is that life occurs at edges. And you put a berm in and all of a sudden you got an edge. So here, we after we brought branches into this giant berm, we brought an excavator in and dug about a 12-foot wide by 40-foot long by 5-foot deep hole here. And used that dirt to cover this berm. And then we put mulch on top. And so right now we have potatoes just starting to come up in this area. And potatoes will grow without any water, give a nice crop if you plant them in the winter and you just continually cover them as they bring their little leaves up. You can see right here is a little potato that is it's come up even tonight over the frost. Just keep it covered, and in the spring you get a nice crop with no water. And this potato here has really been going crazy. You have to cover it every day. And also we found that if we leave the old dead material or even bring in dead material, you can see how frosty it is on the sides, but here, where the dead material is covering, there's little seedlings coming up, getting started, and they'll have a nice head start, be able to shoot up as soon as the weather gets better. Here you can see a few more seedlings. We have had plants under cover like this that survive, and right next to them with no cover, they die. And this is all polyculture. It's a mix of probably about 40 kinds of seeds in here. The seeds are all things that we found that survived the heat last year. Things like artichokes, the fava beans. Here's one of a bigger fava bean. And in general, the berms are not like a magical instant green garden. It takes time for the mulch to decompose and to make a good home for anything to grow on the sides. But what we do find happens instantly is that the plants that are growing at the base of the berm become very happy. Like this pineapple guava here. It sat around at about 1 foot tall for the past 3 years. And then the end of last summer we put this berm in and it's tripled in size. And it even looks like it's growing now in the middle of winter. And it makes it kind of fun, like a maze for kids to run around in. So overall we've been very happy. Every time we add a berm, we're happy. And when we notice areas are dry, like this is probably the driest area of our yard, and so I'll be building this berm up more to help retain moisture for this coming summer. And if I find a berm isn't big enough, I can just pile more branches on and then add some more mulch and dirt and mulch, and it's fine to just continually build on them. Here's artichokes, one of the things that survive well out here without water. But they do have to have mulch in order to not water them. And that's about it. Look forward to seeing how it changes over the years.